Speed and distance are the fundamentals of travel, and at X-Shore, our vision is to develop vessels that balance them perfectly. Hydrodynamics was the primary focus of our team, leading to a collaboration with Rolls-Royce to test for the best combination of hull, shaft, propeller, and rudder. These tests illustrated that X-Shore hulls decreased resistance by 50%, bringing greater speed and range. When planning, our hulls act as a semi-hydrofoil, with water contact limited to the fore and aft. The driveline propulsion of our vessels is also unique to X-Shore. Together with our partners, we have developed the most efficient motor possible, combining high output with fortitude and efficiency. Our motor comprises an inverter designed to handle stress, a battery that has outstanding power-to-weight ratio, and a magnetic gearbox, which ensures silence and zero air friction. The distinct and sophisticated cockpit allows full control of the vessel, which is fitted with front and back boat thrusters for greater agility and freedom of movement.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of PBRTV live sessions brought to you by Powerboat and RIB magazine. This week we are joined by a dear friend of Powerboat and RIB magazine, Konrad Bergstrom of X-Shore. Now, you may not have heard of Konrad, you may not have heard of X-Shore in the UK, but they are taking the world by storm for sustainable boating and electric vessels. So I'm going to bring in Konrad and we're going to start today's show. Hey.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and giving up your evening in Sweden.
Yes, I'm just in front of the King's Castle and enjoying Stockholm Lake.
How's it been in Sweden? Because it's been on the news regarding Corona. Has everybody been behaving themselves and being sensible?
I think everybody is taking this serious, and Sweden have had a different strategy, and we'll see what plays out being the best method. But so far, so good.
Okay, so for those that aren't familiar with X-Shore and your pedigree, before we start with the boat brand itself, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, you know,
it's very interesting.
Yes, well, I think that we all come from the sea, and my grandparents are one from the fisherman's side and one from the seaman's side. So I have the sea in my blood, and I always grown up and been close to the sea. So I love the sea, and I went off to work in lifestyle sports for a while. I was professional windsurfer for a very short while. I became more of a professional salesman. That's where I did succeed. That's actually a picture a couple of years ago in Hawaii. So after my best due date, for sure, I been working with music lately and started a company called Sound Industries, which are selling brands such as Urban Ears, Marshall headphones and Adidas headphones. We are the developer and the mother for these brands, and that is Sweden's quickest growing company so far in Sweden, according to this Super Gazelle. And yeah, it was very successful, and I managed to make some money, which I could invest it in what I wanted. And with my background to the sea, I wanted to make a better world and change it for the better. So why not make sustainable electrical boats?
So your rock and roll past has seen you with some flavorful characters. I have, in honor of this, I have got my skull and crossbones glass and my beer ready in true Exshore style, as your stand is always very well stocked at the boat.
Yes.
So how did the music industry come about? Because that's obviously a big part of your life.
Yes, for sure. You know, I always been interested in music, and it played a big part of my past, and probably in the future as well. But with working with the Marshall brand, and I'm still what do you call it, a board member in the brand. This is Courtney Love. So that gave me the possibility to work with some of the greatest stars out there, and also a lot behind the scenes. But you know, I always had a big heart to work with creative people, and many times protect them in the environment of a nasty businessman.
Yeah. And so do you think your maybe approach where you've been in a very corporate world, but your sort of the music industry, your approach to life with being outdoors, etc., has given you maybe a different way that you've approached the marine industry?
For sure. I mean, the marine industry is very traditional, and certain things has been done in certain things for a very long time. I do see that there is a lot of things that needs to stay the same, but there is definitely a lot of things that need to progress and be to the better.
Okay. So moving on to Exshore, I'm going to bring up one of the renders now so people can get an idea of the craft. This is your 8-meter all-electric vessel that's got a very interesting hull design. It has a stern drive for its propulsion, but it's a unique craft, isn't it? It's covered in cork, and it's very sustainable in its whole construction.
Yeah, I think, you know, we looked at it from a couple of different angles. You know, first, it's from a sustainable angle, where we're trying to use materials that might be a little better for the nature, and one of them that we found was cork. It's not a new material, but I haven't seen any other brand using it the way that we do. Another thing has been functionality. You know, I couldn't understand why people or the designers wouldn't make stairs that they make in houses, because when you go into a boat, you use the first stair and your brain will memorize the second step. But having different heights on the steps makes you fall, and if you're not, especially for the ones who's not used to boats, they're getting scared and getting an adrenaline kick when they should enjoy themselves instead of being scared. So small things like that we changed. There is also this eel in the front that we call the power of silence, which is our ornament, and that you can grab while you're jumping aboard. You have this cork deck that is sustainable, but it's also, you know, protecting you from cold when it's cold outside or in wet, and protecting you from heat when the sun is shining, and has a really nice touch to it in overall. Uh, so there is a lot of things on the design that we have changed to the better.
where did the concept come about? Because obviously you've been around the sea all your life. You've been brought up in Sweden, so you've been around the water. Did you just suddenly take an interest in sustainability? Was it mainly business-driven decision, or did you see a gap in the market?
Yeah, for us it was very important to find a distinct design that you could see it's an extra craft from like 500 meters without reflecting and seeing the brand name. So we worked very hard on that, but basically, it's hard to make something ultra new. So what we did is that we took a fisherman's boat in the front, made it open and very minimalistic. So you have a modular interior that is we have 2 aluminium slides in the deck where you can mount different interior, and then we put a modern sailing boat in the back or in the stern, and that's how the design came together. So it was easy in the end, but it took us like 4 years to try different things to have it both functional, look good, and being a great experience. Because with the open stern, you are very close to the nature.
Yeah. So this is, I'm going to ask the next question, and then while we talk about that, I'm going to bring in some of those development photos. So this has been a journey, if I'm right, from about 1996, then progressing more sort of 2012, 2016, when you started to launch. Has that been an easy road, or have there been different challenges along the way?
I think nothing is easy, right? When you're working as an entrepreneur, it's just crazy how you have to find solutions, and the only thing you can be sure of is that you're waking up with challenges or sometimes even problems, and the best way to go to sleep at night is how you solve those challenges. So has it been an easy task? No. Are we through yet? No, but we are definitely getting there. And it's fun because we're making such progress. But in the beginning, in 1996, when we first starting to have these ideas and so on, there was not the technology for doing this. So I started with registering the trademark Xshore and got xshore.com and trademarked it all over the world. And then after that, we built into the story of the South American eel, where we are having a lot of design inspiration. And that is also 800 volts. So it played a good story, taking the best from nature and building it into the hands of a human, and so on and so on. But we really thought of, we didn't want to invent the wheel, but we questioned it. So it's also with the colors of the boat that it's available in. It's always like natural earth tone colors to more become one with the nature instead of sticking out too much.
Yeah, I've got a one here to show that's an early sketch of a rib. So you first went down the rigid inflatable boat route.
But you can see it's the open stern. At this time, the bow wasn't that high, so it was not as safe. We had this modular system, but it was different buttons that you could attach the back end. So it's basically just the pulpit, and then the rest is like an open area where you can mount what you need for your ride.
Yeah, and I think when I've been on board your boats, they've got a very deep freeboard. They feel very safe, even though you've got a completely open transom. You feel that you're really within it, don't you? You don't feel you're sat on top of something.
Absolutely, and we also have accessories where you can make it closed in the back. So for the people who don't like this at all, we have a solution for that as well.
And as I'm about to show, they're pretty serious, capable boats. You've got a cool photo shoot here of, I guess this is the Swedish coastline.
That is where I grew up, yes.
Yeah.
It's on the west coast, and the weather can be really, really rough. I mean, this is just on the other side of England, so you know your waters, and we have the same weather. But this is last autumn, like in October.
And I guess it must be a completely different way to connect with nature, where even in a sailing yacht, you'll have rigging noises and different sounds coming from the vessel, whereas this is completely immersive into the experience, especially when you're in a bit of seaway.
Absolutely. I mean, it was important to me to make a change when it comes to saying the sustainability and the future of all our lives. But it also the experience of driving an electric boat, where a boat is usually open and you're always getting the fumes inside, and you are always in the middle of the noise pollution. And with an electric boat, the noise pollution is going a lot down, but a lot of noise is, of course, coming from the water breaking against the hull. But then you also have the no fumes and a 10% of the cost to drive. Because as you know, the boat is taking a lot of power when the density of the water is 784 times the air. So electric is cheaper to buy, and then you make savings up to 90% on the driving cost.
So a lot of people would have walked around boat shows over the last year or two and seen electric boats. A lot of them have very unique concepts, big hydrofoils, and a lot of them look like they are very clever, but they're not really practical in today's marketplace. There may be something that you may see in 10, 15 years' time. And they're not really suitable for boating right now, or they don't look in the traditional concept. Your boat, though, has pretty decent range. It has amazing performance from these engines, which we'll talk about a little bit more. Yeah, for those that are new to X-Shore, what is the type of range and performance that you get from, say, something like your 8000?
Yes, of course it depends on the water and the currents and wind, waves, etc. But we built this boat to travel in 25 knots. So the top speed is up to 40 knots, depending also how many people you are in the boat. But you travel very economical in 25 knots. So that is the marsh speed. We have the distance in 25 is between 30 and 50 nautical miles. And if you go in a speed, depending on the length of the boat that you're buying, but if you just travel in 5 to 7 knots, you can go up to 100 nautical miles.
So for a commuter boat, this is a perfect sustainable option, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, we made some research, and most of the people, they are out, like 30 minutes, they go to one place to swim, and then they go 20 minutes to the restaurant, they stay there, they could charge, and then they go home for an hour. So most of the people don't run much more than 2 hours. And that is kind of the boat that we've been building this for.
And for the yacht tender market as well, it's perfect, where they can come in from their mothership, everybody can have dinner, and then it's the perfect sustainable tender, isn't it? That's not having additional petrol stored on a mothership, etc. as well.
No, so that there is better in the security perspective, where you don't have the petrol on board, and it's also that you can charge it with a generator that is running anyway.
Yeah, so I've heard that you've been called in various different interviews the Elon Musk of the boat world. Have you taken inspiration from brands like Tesla or the automotive approach to boat design?
Of course, I think that I've been stealing a lot of ideas, but it's how, the innovation part is how you put them together. But some things we are true innovators in. But as I said, we question the wheel, but we don't have to invent it. So some stuff just have to be as it always been, and then you add things that you think are wrong or you can do better. And there is many people that have been inspiring me for sure, and I hope that I can also inspire people.
Yeah. And with that technology, do you think that you, that electric power, it's sustainable, obviously, propulsion for the marine environment, but do you think that the structures in place to make that sustainable, the infrastructure required, is that far off?
I think there is a lot of things that needs to change, and I'm not sure that it's going to be lithium batteries for all the future. What I do know is that it's going to be electric power. So it might be hydrogen, it might be other solutions that is coming. I mean, we have so many people investing and inventing in this field now to make it green. But we do know that being on the sea without fumes and without noise is being a better experience. So there is still a lot to come. Good things. We see many things, and we're getting a lot of proposals. But there is also a lot of testing to do before it will hit the market.
The Exshore recently won the German Innovation Award. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've been very lucky to have a lot of attention. We also won the German Design Award. We are Red Herring Top 100, which looks at sustainability, design, and innovation. We won the Swedish Big Design Prize from the People's Choice. So we had a lot of attention in that section, and that just shows that we might be a little bit before our time right now, but we're definitely on the right course, and we also have a lot of aces in the back pocket to show when the day is coming.
Yeah, I've heard of some of your exciting plans. Do you think that the people that have started to buy Teslas, that see charging ports on each gas station, that the mindset generally of the public, as it's been changing over the last say 5 years, has really opened that conversation up at boat shows and stuff, that people, okay, they get it, and they feel that it's something that they can see?
You should know that in a lot of places the infrastructure is much better than compared for cars because of these big ships. So if you're in a big harbor, will have no problem of charging. And when we've been around in Europe, we haven't had the problem to charge the boat. Sometimes it takes longer. If you have a really worst case scenario and the battery is totally out, it takes up to 24 hours, but usually between 4 and 6 hours is what you're looking at. And that is when the battery is flat.
Yeah, so by the time that you've gone into a marina, you've had a look around, you've done your days exploring, the boat is ready to go, and there's no logistical issues.
And there is a lot of people or companies investing in this area now to build out the grids in the coastline as well.
So I would say, do you see that there's advancements where you've got the ports are developing, that your commercial contracts and conversations with government and so what the Uber, I've heard you say the Uber of the seas, that these are things that there are other areas of the business where people recognize that this is a really important net for the marine industry.
Exactly. So we choose to drive trend and to drive the demand and get out there with the boat through the business to consumers. But what we are really working on is business to business deals, that people are moving into the cities. And if you've been in London at Christmas time, they're closing down the underground a couple of times a year because it's too crowded. There is the River of Thames where you could easily get to certain points with the boat. And now if it's an electric boat that takes 10% of the cost to drive, it's actually a competitive to normal cars. So it's a lot of new businesses that is coming up and popping up due to our innovation. And there is hotels who wants to be 100% sustainable, so they won't have combustion engines. There is a lot of like lakes, and like for example Amsterdam is taking out combustion engines by 2025. Germany is protecting a lot of areas. Sweden is coming with a lot of areas. Mallorca has certain coasts where you can't go without an electric boat, and so on and so on. So if this is a short-term trend, I wouldn't say, because the earth is what we are living on, so we have to protect it. So I do believe that electric boats is the future.
So I'm going to show in here a couple of pictures. So for those that are more technical, do you see that there have been advances since you've launched the company in the last couple of recent years in your engine and battery technology as the automotive world has propelled itself?
Well, we are, to a certain extent piggybacking on the automotive industry, and we don't have the resources to do this from A to Z, but we do have the resources to translate automotive intelligent of technology into boats, which is very different because of driving in water is like driving constant 45 to 50 degrees uphill. It's much more energy that is consumed. So you need to build it in a different way, and the marine environment is also much tougher on all kind of materials. So we kind of take their technology and translate it into the marine world.
So we see here two different images. There are many advantages, obviously, to battery power. And if I'm right, your drivetrain is actually much more simple than the conventional engine, a Cern drive and gearbox. You have very simple firmware updates, and you can control everything by software. So what are we looking at here? Because you can access this from the aft deck, can't you?
Yeah, so the ones where you see the 3 orange cables coming out of, that's the engine. And it's only like 80 centimeters times 40 centimeters. The weight is 76 kilos. From that, you're getting 290 kilowatts peak power, and it gets up to 460 Newton meters. To get out 460 Newton meters from a normal engine, combustion engine, you need to be at like 500-600 horsepower. So it's very powerful and very neat. It's very small, and you don't have oil in it, so you don't have any services on the engine.
Yeah, and some of our conversations on the capability of those motors in other discussions are phenomenal in the capability of where that space can really go in terms of the technology on those engines.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you saw the different parts to support the engine. So those parts are bigger compared to a normal engine.
Yeah. So this shows for people the sort of deck layout. You mentioned earlier that the whole system is on rails, so it's completely modular. So the traditional engine room, as it were, is under the 2 rear seats, but you can change your layout accordingly, can't you?
We have a special setup for divers. We have a special setup for fishermen. We have a special setup for just going out and drinking champagne. So you can change modular with what you're supposed to do and get a whole new boat, basically.
So we saw 2 different models, new boats at Dusseldorf. You've received a record amount of investment for this sort of sector in the industry recently. So it sounds like there's real exciting plans for Exshore moving forward.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of my team and everybody that is working at the X-Shore. It's night and day, but we have a lot of fun. And the good thing is that, first it was a vision and like, can we do this? We must be able to do this. But now it's really coming together. So you must come for a test drive as soon as these things are getting over and we can meet again in normal old man tradition on the sea.
Definitely. So you've had such a varied life that you're clearly in your prime, but previously you've had Marshall, you've had the Australian roof racks that we haven't mentioned, that everybody would see at every sort of Halfords department store in the UK at Fuel. But you've done all these different industries. For somebody that thinks that they've got a revolutionary idea, that they've got a clear passion, what tips as somebody that has done so many different industries successfully would you recommend?
Well, it's not easy to give tips because each thing has to be individual, said. But I think that it's important to believe in yourself and to make the analysis before you throw yourself out there. Because once you throw yourself out, it's like 300% to succeed. So you don't have time and regret, or you don't have time to change the big picture. You have to change a lot of small pictures. So don't be afraid of changing once you throw the dice and you're in the war.
Yeah. So for people that want to see X-Shore, obviously things are a little bit up in the air because of coronavirus, but will your plans still be to be at Dusseldorf next year and Cannes Boat Show?
Yes, we are planning to do as many shows as we can, but we're also looking into new ways of showing the boats and having different test centers. So definitely you will be able to try this soon.
Great. And they can then just contact you through the X-Shore website and make an inquiry.
Absolutely.
So anyway, it's been superb to have a chat with you, Konrad, and show everybody a little bit more of an insight into everything X-Shore. It's been, I know you're a very busy man indeed, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We've had people from all across Europe, some viewers from Dubai, from America as well. So thank you for tuning in on your evening or morning, wherever you are in the world. If you haven't already, we are offering a free digital subscription to Powerboat and RIB. So if you jump onto powerboatandrib.com, you can read a digital version of the magazine if you can't get to a newsagent's under the pandemic. But also we are capitalizing on that technology and embedding all of our interviews and YouTube videos into the articles and into various manufacturers' adverts, so it becomes a really immersive experience. So if you haven't tried that, log on to there. Konrad, thank you again for your time. Thank you for everybody tuning in. We're going to play the X-Shore promotional video now to roll out for this evening. So thank you, everybody, and tune in again next week.
Enjoy.